Life, welcome back to our last episode of this series on Couch Convos Starter Kit. Today we are talking about
persecution.
Kind
of a deep one.
A deep one. So settle in, get yourself a little, snack, get ready. This is going to be a really good video. And also, I just want to encourage you to take some time during this video to get a notebook out. Take some notes. I think that's very important so you can have something to reference back to. So I'm going to hit you with the statistics first thing in the video, so get ready. 380 million Christians face high levels of persecution around the world. In 2025, 4,500 Christians were killed for their faith. 4,700 Christians were arrested for their faith, and 30,000 churches or Christian properties were attacked. So why am I giving you these statistics? Sam, why are you bumming me out the minute I click on this video? Is because persecution is real. It's not something that is made up. It's not something that is just for the history books. It is real and it's still happening today. And we are comfortable here in the United States. And that is something that I feel like a lot of times we take for granted is that we are comfortable. People around the world today die for their faith, and they die for believing in Jesus, for sharing the gospel. Yeah. So why we end our series with such a sad topic. Sam, why are you bumming me out? Is it puts your faith in perspective and it can motivate you. And so that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, so like last week when we talked about doubt, persecution is also something that I think we don't talk about a lot. And that's probably because we don't really deal with it in the United States. Or when we do talk about it, we kind of talk about it as this like far distant thing that's maybe, for the history books, or, we'll never have to deal with that. We never think that it's actually real. Like, we just see it on the news, or we read about it in a book, but we don't actually think that it's actually happening. But in the United States, because we are so comfortable, this lack of persecution that we face here can actually be dangerous to our faith. It is true that the U.S. is becoming more hostile to Christianity. That's a fact. Okay, there are statistics to prove that. There's more attacks on churches happening. There's more stuff happening, right? But still, compared to the rest of the world, we are not persecuted in the United States. Religious freedom, still stands. Yeah. There's pushback, of course. People's personal attitudes are shifting, I think, to be more, I would say, anti-Christian. But we are really not persecuted in the United States. It can be easy growing up in this kind of Christianity in the United States, in this kind of easy Christianity, to become like apathetic, right? What does that mean? In other words, I just mean lazy or laid back in our faith. But this isn't helpful. This only harms us, because what that means is that when we are eventually pressed, or if we ever get to a point in our life where we maybe do face even a minor form of persecution, we crumble instead of standing strong, right? Christians around the world, like Sam said, are standing strong in their faith, even in the face of death, right? Even in the face of threats to them, to their families, to their homes. And all of that's happening while some Christians in the U.S. can't even stand strong in the face of social media pressure, can't even stand strong against verbal attacks, can't even stand strong against maybe some discrimination in some like more severe cases. But these things are really nothing compared to the persecution that other Christians all over the world are experiencing. So what do we do, right? How do we respond as Christians? We're speaking to Christians in the United States, okay? How do we, as U.S. Western Christians, respond to this worldwide persecution of our brothers and sisters in the faith? And how do we also stay strong in our own faith and not become lazy when we're in this comfortable place?
Yeah, and so most of the information that we're going to get for this episode is coming from an article by John Piper. So we will link it in the description for you so you can, like we said last week, fact check and address any kind of curiosities that you have about that. So the first thing that we need to do is press deeper into the darkness. That sounds strange. I know. But in the U.S., we aren't automatically surrounded by darkness as far as persecution goes. Like, yes, we live in a dark and very sinful world, and there's sin everywhere.
Of course.
And it is so evident, even when you kind of just walk out your front door in the morning, like, sin is evident. But we don't live in a dark area, I guess, and that is what I'm trying to say.
As
here
far as
in
like
the US.
persecution
as
goes.
far as persecution goes, like there are some people who walk out their front door in the morning and they have to pretend to be somebody that they're not so that they don't get killed for their faith. 2 Timothy 3:12 says, all who desire to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. Matthew 10:25, John 15:20, Acts 14:22. All those verses say similar things. We're going to put them here so that you can look them up and read them, and maybe pause the video so you can go read those verses. But the Bible is clear. Christians will be persecuted if they are faithful to Jesus. So if I don't find myself getting any kind of pushback for my faith, how closely am I following Jesus' example? As Christians, you should be pushing deep into the darkness, like I said, not being comfortable in your faith, not being church-only Christians. If you're not getting some kind of rejection or some kind of feedback from other people when you talk about what you believe and why you believe it, then what are you doing? You know, we live in a very sinful world. Sin and darkness is very evident in everything that we do. And so if you're not sharing the gospel and you're not going out and making disciples of all nations, then what are you doing? And so we don't want to, the video is not to be like, you're not doing enough and you are the worst. But no, it's like, you're not doing enough. We want to challenge you to do more. And so that's kind of the purpose of this video, is that no, you're not being murdered for your faith. You're not being put into prison and being deprived of food and water. But you're not even being questioned about why you believe what you believe, because you're not being honest with people. And so that's our challenge for you, is that be honest with people. I am a Christian and I believe this, and this is why. You need to follow up with the truth, with the facts. It isn't about candy-coated Christianity of I go to church on Sunday so I can feel good about myself, and then I go live my life and I never tell anybody why I believe what I believe.
People in other countries who are being persecuted for real, they can't afford to sugarcoat the faith.
No.
Because for them, it's life or death.
Yeah, and sometimes they have a matter of seconds to share the gospel with someone, and you know what? They do it.
Yeah.
And so that's just a challenge for each of you, is to, you know what? Maybe you set a goal for yourself of, I'm going to find 3 people that I don't know. I'm going to put myself in an uncomfortable situation where maybe it's not dangerous, you know, but it's uncomfortable. And I'm going to tell them, this is the gospel. And this is why I believe it. And this is why you should believe it too. And so we're not staying in the church seats, and we aren't keeping your faith private. You're going to go to places where people need Jesus. And it could literally be the grocery store. It could literally be the Target.
Your school.
Your school. It could be just walking down the street and talking to your neighbor, making a connection that way. It could be on a sports team. You know, there are places for you to share the gospel. You don't have to go to a third world country to go tell people about Jesus. And don't disqualify yourself from sharing the gospel because you're not called to missions. You need to go to places where you're having those conversations. So this doesn't mean you need to chase persecution, and that's not what we're saying. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it does mean that if you aren't experiencing any kind of friction, any kind of uncomfortability from the world, then you aren't close enough to it.
That's so good. Yeah. Matthew 16:24, and then a couple verses later says this: if anyone would come after me, this is Jesus speaking, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. The second thing that we need to do, the second way that we respond to persecution, is to walk a path of self-denial, right? Denying ourselves, putting ourselves aside. I don't mean that we have to walk around and be just like sad and dejected all the time, okay? This doesn't mean beating yourself up. But what this does mean is joyfully setting things aside in your life, joyfully setting yourself aside. In Luke chapter 6, verses 7 through 8, Jesus tells his disciples to do something very difficult. He tells them to love their enemies and do good to those who persecute them. You have enemies. I have enemies.
Oh, you have enemies?
Of course, right? We all have enemies, right? Okay? People that maybe we don't get along with, people we don't like, people that annoy us, okay? People that don't like us. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to deny ourselves and love them, right? We're supposed to set ourselves aside and do good to them. This is guaranteed to be uncomfortable. This is guaranteed to cause some friction. This is guaranteed to get some pushback from people. And it's guaranteed to require sacrifice, right? Maybe not sacrificing your life. Maybe not sacrificing your body to be thrown into prison, but it's going to sacrifice your comfort. It's going to sacrifice, maybe it's going to sacrifice a friend group. Maybe it's going to sacrifice your reputation, right? This may not be persecution that's initiated at you, okay? But this is a kind of affliction or pain that we are called to by Jesus, right? We're not supposed to run into persecution and figure out what are the ways that I can
Be persecuted.
what are the ways that I can put myself in pain's way for Jesus? But the fact is that if we are living honestly in our faith, if we are denying ourselves every single day, if we are doing what Jesus said and we're loving our enemies and doing good to those who are mean to us and who persecute us, we're naturally going to face some of that friction.
Yeah. 1 Timothy 4, verse 4 through 5 says, "Everything created by God is good, and nothing is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving, for it is made holy by the word of God in prayer." So the next thing you can do is learn the secret of facing plenty. Self-denial is one way to lift Christ up in our world of comfort. Another way is enjoyment of God's gifts, thanking God for the plenty that he has given you. This might rub some people the wrong way, but I feel like this generation, and we're Gen Z, so we can say this, is we have a very ungrateful generation of people. People who just take advantage of luxuries, take advantage of that comfortability. And at the minute you may be a little uncomfortable, all of a sudden you're ungrateful for all that you have. And I myself have dealt with this as well, you know? And so this isn't like a bash on others. It's like this is the reality of the situation, is that we have so much and we have so many things that we are afforded and we are given without sacrificing anything. Anything at all. And so this whole idea is that you need to deny yourself. And sometimes, you know what, maybe you don't get your venti Starbucks strawberry acai refresher. And sometimes you go and you put yourself down in a place that is uncomfortable for you to serve other people. And so I just feel like people are so, and I say people are so, I sound like such a boomer, but like, we are so ungrateful for what the Lord has given us. We live in a place where we can get in our car in the morning, we can go down to the Starbucks, we can get our little drink, we go to school, we hang out with all our friends, we go home and dinner's on the table, you know? And there are people who are starving. Like my dad would always say, like whenever we wouldn't eat our food as a kid, like there are starving children around the world. And, you know, and so, but he's right, is that we're so ungrateful for what we have and it's not good enough for us because we deserve more and we work so hard and we deserve this because of this. It's not true. You deserve nothing. You deserve hell and death. Like that is fact of the matter, reality check. That is what you deserve. But the Lord has gifted you and given you so much that when he asks you to step out of your comfort zone, he's met with, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, God. I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if going to the nations is for me. I don't know if helping others is for me. I don't know if maybe giving up my $5 drink for somebody else is for me.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to that place. And so, sorry, I went off on a little bit of a rabbit trail, Pastor Connor, I'm sorry. But when you see persecution taking place in the world, you have a different perspective when you are living in that self-denial, when you are lifting Christ up in everything that you do. So suddenly you're very thankful for what you have, and you complain less about what you don't have or what you wish you had. Mm-hmm. You live in comfort. We live in comfort. Even the most underprivileged people in America live in luxury compared to other parts of the world. So choose to be thankful. Thankful for your freedom. Thankful that you are free to be a Christian, that you are free to get up on a Sunday morning and go to church. Be thankful for that. Instead of sitting there like you don't want to be there, you know? Like, oh, I don't want to come to church on Sunday. It's too early for me. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. I just haven't had my coffee today. And I'm going to sit here. I'm not really going to listen to the message. I'm going to sit on my phone. And I'm just going to pretend that I'm here for the right reasons.
I don't like the songs. I don't like the, whatever.
But be grateful. You get to get up in the morning and you get to, you have like 19 churches on one road that you get to pick and choose how you worship God today. And there are people out there who have to worship in secret, who have to worship just alone, who don't get to have that community that is provided for them.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting a little worked up. I'm getting a little fired up here.
Preach it.
But like, you have so many opportunities. We have opportunities. We have a youth group that meets every single week.
Yeah, how cool is that?
And I feel like, and this may, like I said, I'm going to step on some toes, but there are some students out there who don't come to youth on a Friday night because, oh, it's not as production based. Like there's not, the lights and everything aren't like, you know, as good as this other church I
don't want to bring my friends. They won't think it's
cool.
I
don't want to bring my friends because they won't think it's cool, or I don't like the worship songs that we sing, or, you know, I don't really like that youth pastor. Like he just kind of talks a little long for me. You know, but what are you doing? That's what I want to know. What are you doing? Because you have so many things that you're afforded. And if you're going to go to a church that, yeah, sure, their lights and everything may be so fun. They may have the best worship that you've ever heard. They may make you feel really good, but are you being challenged?
Are you being uncomfortable?
Are you being uncomfortable? Are you putting yourself in a place where, you know what? I might have to talk to somebody. I might have to say, hey, can you pray for me? And I don't want to do that because I don't feel like talking about my faith is for me.
Yeah.
That is ungrateful behavior.
It is.
Ungrateful behavior. You live in comfort. We live in comfort. And I think that you getting to worship and getting to go to church is such a luxury. And even for like me, like I sit back and think about myself is that, you know, there are times, probably even once a day, I'm a little bit ungrateful. Ungrateful for what I have. Ungrateful for the luxuries that have been afforded to me.
Yeah.
Because what do we deserve?
Nothing.
Nothing. We deserve nothing.
You're intense.
I'm intense.
But it's good.
I'm fired up about this topic.
It's good though because we don't talk about this enough. We don't talk about this enough. So the fourth thing we need to do, the fourth thing that we can do to respond to persecution around the world and our lack of persecution is pursue love, not pain, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, we're not seeking out persecution, okay? We're not intentionally hurting ourselves for Jesus. We don't pursue pain, but we pursue love despite the pain, okay? 1 Corinthians 13:7 says, love bears all things, it believes all things, it hopes all things, and it endures all things. We shouldn't necessarily feel guilty, and this is what we're not trying to do, is make you feel guilty that you don't face as much persecution as the rest of the world, okay? That's not what we should feel as Christians. That's not our goal. But we can't stop loving. We can't stop being Christian. We can't stop sharing the gospel just because it makes us a little bit uncomfortable, okay? Because the fact is that there are people who are living that life of love, who are reflecting Jesus, who are sharing the gospel, and they're risking their lives for it. And we won't do it just because we're a little bit uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. We won't do it just because, oh, I might make my friend upset. We won't do it just because, like, oh, what if my principal gets mad at me that I'm talking about Jesus at school?
Who cares?
Who cares? Like,
we will write a note.
ruffle some feathers, okay? Jesus ruffled a lot of feathers, okay? Ruffle some feathers, share the gospel, be different, stand out in your faith, pursue love. You're not pursuing the pain, but pain is going to come. And no matter what pain you face, keep pursuing the love of Christ. If we are truly loving those around us like Jesus did, some pain, some friction is going to naturally come. That's just the fact. It's difficult. It is difficult to follow Jesus. People won't understand it. People won't like it, but it's our purpose. Our purpose is to love God and to love people. Sam and I were talking about this yesterday in the car. Our one call as Christians, our main purpose, why we were put on this earth, love God, love people. Love God and love people. So I would ask you, is the love that you give to people painful? Are you expressing the truth? Is it requiring you to sacrifice? The love of Christ would answer all of these questions. Yes. Yes. And I hope that those things are true in your life. And if they're not, maybe it's time to reevaluate the way that you are expressing the love of Christ. Like, are you really putting yourself out there for the sake of Christ? Like, it sounds even so silly to talk about all of this because it sounds so small and trivial when we compare it to the persecution that goes on around the world. But when we are in such a world of comfort, even the most minor inconvenience, even the most minor discomfort becomes the biggest challenge in the world. And so we have to be intentional with it. And we have to choose to put ourselves in those positions of uncomfort.
Yeah, the last thing is the most important thing, and is what we're put on this earth to do. It is biblical, it is scriptural, and it is to live to make Christ known. Not to live for how much money we can earn, not to live for how many things we can achieve, not to live for all the trophies on the shelf, not to live to play football, play sports, to sing on a stage, to be in plays and to be glorified and have fame on social media, or even preaching. Yes, you're talking about the things that you need to talk about, but it's not about you. It's about making disciples and living to make Christ known. Matthew 28:19-20 says, "Therefore go, make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." The last thing that Jesus said to his disciples, the very last thing he said to them, not a, "I love you, miss you, see you tomorrow." No, it was, "Go, make disciples, make me known, and I will be with you." He promises something. He promises to be with them to the end of the age. So in other words, no matter what. He promises to be with them no matter what. He is with us no matter what. No matter what you face, no matter what you have to sacrifice, Jesus is going to be with you. Our job is to make Jesus known to everyone. And it's going to require sacrifice. It's going to require your comfort to be checked and for you to be uncomfortable. It's going to cost you your status. It's going to cost you your positions. And it's going to create pain. But it's going to change lives. And that is what you're here for.
Yeah. So, I think it could be said that we as Christians in the U.S. have it easy in our faith. And I think in many ways we do. As far as persecution goes, we do. I mean, not even close to the levels of persecution and pain and sacrifice that believers are facing in other parts of the world. But there's a great danger, like we're talking about, in this lack of persecution, right? We can't let ourselves get comfortable. We can't let ourselves get lazy in our faith. It's true that we aren't constantly faced with violence. We aren't constantly faced with death for our faith at every turn when we walk out of our house, when we just quietly say a prayer for someone on the street. We don't have to, worry about getting arrested for doing that, right? Because of that, because we don't face that danger, at every turn. We have to be intentional and purposeful about the way that we live for Jesus, or we can easily become lazy. We can easily become comfortable. We can easily forget what the purpose of following Christ is, right? So we need to go into the dark places. We need to go to the hurting people. We need to love and do good to those who hate us. We need to share Jesus in everything we do, in everything we say, in every place that we go. This is how we respond to persecution as Americans, as Western Christians, as U.S. Christians who don't face a lot of persecution. This is how we respond to the fact that millions of Christians are being persecuted worldwide. I want to share one last thing with you that you can do, that we can do, as we're dealing with just the thought of people being persecuted all over the world, and really how blessed we are to be in the place that we are. Pray for them. Pray for Christians all over the world. Pray that God would give them strength and courage and faith and hope, that He would give them love for their enemies, that they would continue to do good for those who hate them, that He would give them the power to continue sharing the gospel. We might not be facing the same persecution that millions of Christians are facing around the world, but we can pray for them.
Yeah.
We can keep it in the forefront of our mind. We can make sure that we don't forget, right, the freedom that we have. Make sure we don't forget the blessing that we have. And hopefully, as we're praying for those other Christians, we are inspired every day to go out and put ourselves in uncomfortable situations for the sake of the gospel, because they're putting themselves in harm's way, in death's way, okay? The least I can do is put myself in some discomfort for Jesus.
Yeah, and I mean, that covers it. That's our episode. And so I really hope that you don't walk away from this feeling discouraged, and that you don't walk away feeling like I've been doing something wrong my whole life and I need to feel guilty for it. And that's not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is we want you to challenge yourself. We want you to step out of your bubble and to do something that may make you feel uncomfortable. We keep using that word uncomfortable, but it is what it is. But that's what we want you to hear from this, is that you are here on this earth for one thing, and that is to know Christ and to make Christ known. I guess that's two things, but I mean, it's one idea. So operate out of that. Work that way. Do everything in your life with that thing in mind, to know Christ and to make Christ known.
That's good.
And so we really hope you liked today's episode and that you're not feeling bummed out.
Let it
Shake it
encourage
off.
you.
Let it encourage you. Let it challenge you. Let it move you forward in what you are doing and how you are loving people to Christ, loving students to Christ, as we do here at Student Life. And that's our last episode of Starter Kit on Couch Convos. We're going to be moving into a new series. We're really excited for it. So like and leave a comment. Come at us with your questions. If you watched all the way through, I'd like you to leave a comment of your favorite emoji. I'll give them a little challenge to leave some comments on the video, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you next week for week 1 of our new series.